Good morning, Grinders. Welcome to the DFS pregame show here on RotoGrinders. I'm Jordan Cooper, a.k.a. Blender HD, if you want to follow me on Twitter. And it's Wednesday, July 27th, and we're talking MLB. Because what else do we have to talk about? I don't know. We talked a little bit about sports betting and prize picks and stuff yesterday, but we can talk about, we have an early slate. We have an early slate, 2:10 p.m. Eastern, 7-game slate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-game slate. So maybe we'll go through a build and maybe look at some lineups that we could put together for the early slate here. And if you tune in later in the day, Grinders Live, Crunch Time. I believe the main 5-game slate is 6:40 Eastern. So probably starting Grinders Live a little bit earlier today. So check that out on the channel. Subscribe if you're new here. Hit the notification bell to know when everything goes live. Give me those thummy thumbs on your way in the door. You know how I like those thummy thumbs. Hit the thumbs up button. Hit the thumbs down button. Is there even a thumbs down button anymore? I heard they were taking away the thumbs down button. I don't know. Maybe it's not. I got the people in the chat. Wataz. Wataz is the new Suki Singh. So Wataz gets here even earlier. Defik even here a bit early. Doug Montgomery, good morning. Daniel Hutchings, hi. MJC, got to pick up my MLB game, making me look forward to NFL, NBA. Matt Mears, morning. Pick up your MLB. MLB is just very high variance. People complain, I lost 5 days in a row. It's like, well, don't tell me the normal struggles at DFS, right? Right. Remember, projections are just 50th percentile outcomes. Okay, you have a 13-game slate. Who knows? Who knows? A pitcher could get blown up. I mean, things happen, right? Do you get the right stack, the right pitchers? I mean, especially if you're playing GPPs. Understanding GPPs, they pay out what? The top 22% of the field or something like that, right? So like 78% of you are losing on a given day. You're going to lose on average 78% of the time. And understand that a lot of the min cash spots are not really profitable spots to begin with. 1.5x cash, like long term. If you're not going to win if you're not going to build lineups that have anywhere near the chance of winning first, and you get a lot of min cashes, you can't even be profitable that way. So, like, understand that you want to come in the top 10%. Those at least maybe profitable spots long term. And I'm giving you an even longer tail there at 10%. So, like 90% of the time, you're not going to hit those spots with the lineup. 90% of the time. Okay? That's normal. That's if everything was equal. If everyone was equally skilled. There was a contest with 1,000 entries, right? And it paid the top 200, right? But like the 150 to 200 only got 1.5x. And then 100 to 150 got 2x. Then you don't get to like 3x until like 75th place, right? Then maybe in the 50th place, you get a 5x, right? It's a very, the payout curve goes like this and then goes like a hockey stick at the end. Okay. So like from a long-term profitability perspective, you're aiming for like the top 5%, top 10%. I mean, you're aiming for the top. So like understand that even min cashes are not like long-term profitable. So like 90% of the time, if out of 1,000 entries, if it was a single entry contest, for instance, so 1,000 entries, if everyone was equally skilled, if everyone built an equally expected value lineup, right, you'd win once every 1,000 times, right? You win first. You win second once every 1,000 times. You win third once every 1,000 times, right? So like 90% of the time, you're not going to come in the top 10%, right? 80% of the time, you don't cash at all, right? That's normal. That's normal, okay? That's normal, okay? But people don't seem to get that. Now, in order to increase your first place equity, a lot of times you have to give up min cash equity. So in order to increase the variance of your lineup enough and add enough relative value, enough leverage, right? Stuff like that, you're less likely to come in like, in 200th place. You're more likely to come in 800th place, but you're also more likely to come in like the top 10 spots. Okay, so you're sacrificing stuff in the middle of the curve to get extra on the ends. Okay, which means that if you were to play lineups like that against other equally skilled players, now you lose 85% of the time, but you have a little bit better chance of coming in the top 10. Now compare that once we change the skill level of the players that are in your contest. So we have 100 lineups that are horrible. Okay, so you can get rid of them. You have a couple of hundred that are probably better than yours. Okay, so theirs go up. So it's quite possible that if you're not losing 90% of the time in GPPs with an entry, with a single entry, then you're doing something wrong. Right? I always go back to what 2019, only because I analyzed my 2019 season publicly. I showed, and that season I made I think $35,000. And I asked someone, and I would ask people, it's like, so how, I played for it was like 180 days, 180 slates or whatever it was. What percentage of the time did I lose money? Did not make a profit on the slate? Because obviously I wasn't just playing one lineup; I was playing a whole bunch of lineups. So what percentage of the time did I get back less money than I started with? And people would guess. They go, you probably lose half the time, right? Thinking I'm a good player, right? So you must profit like half the slates. That seems pretty good. And some people are like, oh no, you probably win like 30% of the slates, right? You probably profit on 30% of the slates. You lose 70% of the time because you're a good player, right? And then maybe the people that are a little bit more realistic go, I think you win like 20% of the slates, and you lose 80% of the time. And then I told him, I said, I win 6% of the slates. I lost 94% of the time. 94% of slates I lost, and I still made $35,000, right? Because that's normal. That's normal. You're going to lose like 90+% of the time. If you're building right. If you're looking at like, I want to be able to cash like 60% of the slates, well then play head-to-heads and double-ups, right? If you could win head-to-heads at a 58% rate, you're profitable. So go do that, right? If the thing is about feeling like you're winning or whatever like that. No, the variance in this game is so high. You can play an entire MLB season, every slate for an entire MLB season as the best player in the world and lose and not profit on the entire season and never win first place. The sample size of 180, 200, 250 slates is still absurdly small. Okay, remember, it's like rolling a 5,000-sided die. You're just trying to make your odds, so instead of getting 5,000 to 1, you're getting 3,500 to 1. And you'd be insanely profitable. But it doesn't mean that you're going to win all the time. You're going to lose most of the time. Slate Breaker says, no, the projections are a 50th percentile outcome. He's writing, I didn't know projections are a 15% outcome. No, 50th. 50th percentile. They're median projections or mean projections. Typically, the mean, for this purposes, median and mean are pretty close. So if you wanted to call them mean projections, like that, like Cardi would call these mean, because they're technically mean. They are mean projections. Because these numbers can't be medians. So what's the difference? Like mean is an average. Median is just the center result, where 50% of the results are on one side, 50% of the results are on the other side, right? For outcomes. So if we simulated this slate 1,000,000 times, whatever is in that 500,000th spot is the median outcome. A mean would be averaging all the numbers together. So you can tell the difference is obviously mean projections, like a median, like Corbin Burns cannot score 20.84 points. It's impossible with the scoring system, right? There's no such thing as a .01 or anything on DraftKings. So like these have to be mean projections, right? A median projection would be an actual median number of an actual score. So, but the difference is Corbin Burns' mean projection is 20.85. His median projection may be 20.75 or 20.8. Right? It's very close. Like they're going to be absurdly close the way the projections are made. So whether or not they're called median or mean projections, I kind of use them interchangeably. Divic asks, struggling with getting access to those players with those upper percentile upside in MLB. Standard deviation doesn't work since distributions aren't normal, since some are below their mean 85% of the time. You don't have to focus so much. People overthink. I do it on the show all the time. You could use the median projections. Struggling to get access to those players with upper percentile upside in MLB. All of them do. They all do. So it doesn't matter. Like what you're focused too much on the players. MLB is one of the simplest DFS sports. That it's I wouldn't say it's the simplest DFS sport, but it's the comparison between how you should play DFS and how people think they should play DFS is the widest gap possible. Like the simplest DFS sport is like golf, right? There's no correlation. There's no nothing. Maybe I guess AM PM waves. I guess you could consider there's some amount of correlation. MMA, but I mean, I would say golf only on a full field event, like 154 golfers. Like you could build any reasonable lineup in a half a second. Like we can just like, okay, that looks good. Go play it. That's fine. How much do you really need to do? Baseball is close to that. Understand, remember, I do not look at any statistics whatsoever in baseball. I'm not looking to get access to those players with upper percentile up. I could give me if the Germany started a baseball league and it was all German players that I've never heard of. Said as long as you give me these numbers, I don't need to know the players. I don't need to look at who has the best ISO. I have no clue. Who has the most home runs? I have no idea. Who's the best batting average? Like it matters. No care in the world. You're worried too much about the players and not building lineups. You already have the numbers. The players do not matter anymore. Okay? When I build lineups here here's let me reload this. Hold on. Okay. So if you're going to play a head-to-head, now obviously we don't have all the lineups out. I mean, we're using this based on what the current projected lineups are, right? Because this early slate still has like 3 hours before. And a lot of these teams aren't going to release lineups until like a half an hour before lock, right? For the early slate. So we may have some catchers. People get the day off, day after a night game type of thing, right? But let's say we want to play a head-to-head. I have the bat projections up, okay? So in a head-to-head, you want to play the highest 50th percentile lineup pretty much, right? Okay, so I'm going to put in 2 zeros just so I could run this, okay? So if I was playing head-to-heads today, assuming the lineups are the way they are, this is exactly the lineup that I would play. Burns, Javier, Smith, Abreu, Garcia, Moncada, Witt, Hilliard, Dozier, Jimenez. Done. Did I identify anything? I could know nothing about any of these players, but this is what the projections are. This is the high 113.13. It's the highest projected median lineup. So in a contest where your goal is to get a median outcome, which is a head-to-head, right? 55th percentile, right? In order to beat the rate against one person. That's the type of lineup that you should be playing. And as the field gets bigger, the more that you're going to veer away from the projection, the highest projection, you're going to lower your projection so you could add relative value. So you could now have points that your opponents don't have because you're going to get paid more for them. In a head-to-head, I don't get paid. If I beat someone in a head-to-head by 100 points, I don't get anything extra, right? I don't get anything. In a triple-up, in a 31-man triple-up with 9 people pay, coming in 9th and coming in 1st, same exact thing. It doesn't matter. So if I win that by 50 points, I don't get anything. So I should be building lineups for what? The 70th percentile or so for those contests. Playing large field GPPs, you're building lineups for 99th percentile. Not the outcomes. What's the chances that someone gets 33 points here and 20? No. Just that the ownership has to come down so that, I could sacrifice 10 points in ownership and get like half the 10 points in projection and get half the ownership. I'm gaining relative value. I'm gaining points that the field is not gaining. Once I have the players as numbers, what does it matter what any of the other stats are? It doesn't matter. They're all incorporated into the projections. Once you turn a name into a number, you don't need to worry about the sport anymore. You're just playing around with numbers. That's it. That's all it is. That's all DFS is. Dan 1312. Hey, Blender, took down the main GPP on FanDuel yesterday. Oh, great. Just wanted to drop by and say thank you for all your content and for your course. It's been hugely helpful. Oh, good. The main GPP. Oh, that was pretty good then. Well, that's 5 figures, right? That's 25,000, 30,000, something like that. I didn't. Oh, I did play on FanDuel yesterday. Let's take a look. I'll bring it up on my phone. Let's see. All scores, history. Oh, I mean, I threw it. I did horribly. I donuted on FanDuel yesterday. So let's see. Is it the main GPP? Let me take a look. 30K to first. Oh yeah, I see the. Yes, there you go. I see the 233.9. I could probably put it on the screen. All right. Let me maybe put it on the screen. Let's see. Live. Where do we go? Well, history. I don't use FanDuel desktop often at all. Let's see. So where can we find? Yeah, I did not do well yesterday. Did better on Draftkings, but not much better. Let's take a look. Mr. Scorpion, 30,000. Right. I assume you had the Blue Jays, right? There you go. Blue Jay, Blue Jay, Blue Jay. 3 Blue Jays. 1, 2, 3. And 2 Wong Urias. So 3, 3. Yeah, Milwaukee, and then Xander Bogaerts. Yeah, that's fine. Spencer Strider. That fit in. This works. Easy peasy, right? And you look at the ownership percentages. It's like, look, Luis Urias, 2.7%. Colton Wong, 3%. Like the Brewers were barely owned. I mean, the Blue Jays kind of were, right? It was a large slate, right? But this is all you needed, right? I mean, like a 15% owned pitcher, which is on FanDuel, decently owned. There you go. Here's my best lineup. Yeah, that didn't work out very well. Have Red Sox plus Dodgers. No, that didn't work out. Yeah. So there you go. Right. How much leverage did you need on a 13-game slate? I mean, just right. The Brewers. That's it. I mean, when you get 3%, 2%, and you're getting all these points, especially on a slate that didn't have that much scoring on it, and you have Springer in your Blue Jays stack, you're good. You're done. There you go. Easy. Well, congratulations. Congratulations. Okay. Slatebreaker says, is there ever a time when you're allowed intuition to come into play? Intuition of what? Slatebreaker. I don't even understand the question. Intuition of what? I have intuition of strategies, but intuition of what? As far as sports are concerned? There'd be no purpose in having sports intuition. I already have the numbers. Why the hell would I want to introduce bias? Like if you feel a certain player will go off, well, then feel what would lead me to that? It would already be in the number. It would be in the number. Like I don't even understand the. I understand exactly what you're saying. It's just that good players don't. There's no such thing as you feel like a certain player. What would make you feel that way? Right? It would have to be in the numbers, right? You would look at something and go, "Oh, this guy hits lefties, and this thing happens on Tuesdays and the whatever." And then when the moon is out, and this ballpark, this pitcher throws sliders. Like anything that you could quantify like that is already in the projections. So there's no the whole point is to not have bias. You'd never want to introduce bias. The whole point is to let the field have bias. Right? When the field has bias, you take advantage of them because they have a feel. I have a projection model. It doesn't feel anything. So you want to take advantage of the field's bias. You don't want to use your own bias. So no, I never have a feel of anything. The only thing you could have a fit into it, I use my intuition when it comes to ownership. Because based on what I see around the industry, I alter ownership numbers because I could predict other people's biases better than an algorithm can sometimes. So I may adjust. So I may like on this slate, I'm giving you a complete example, right? It could be that like, oh, we have Javier at 49% and Burns at 48%. And I'm like, I think Burns is going to be more than that. I think Burns is going to be more like 60%. Like I don't have any reason to think that, but I'm just saying it would be one of those things where throughout the course of the day, I've seen on Twitter, I've seen around, I've seen people talk, I've read articles, right? I've read Cheese's $1 million musings or whatever, and I can see based on the construction, I think people trust Burns. They don't necessarily trust Javier as well. I'm like I said, I'm making this example up. So I'd be like, okay, I think Javier is going to be more like 40% and Burns is going to be 60%. Right? Even though probably it's close to do something like that. That would be intuition. Not intuition on whether or not like Burns is going to have 10 strikeouts. I have no idea about that. I may look at this and go, like, I don't think Zach Gallen's going to be 23% owned. I think he's going to be 15% owned. Right? Like I said, this is an example. I don't know this. I'm waking up and looking at the slate right now. It'll be that type of thing. Like in football, NFL is easy to do that because you have like the whole week. So by Saturday, you know, our ownership projections say that this guy's going to be 12% owned, some wide receiver or something. And then I know from Thursday and Friday, like half the time I see a show, I listen to something, I hear that wide receiver being like, oh, this is going to be the play, right? And they're playing against the chalk team, and it's a run back or something. So I'm like, I think it's going to be much more than 12%. That 30%, no, but maybe 18%, not 12%, but maybe 18%. So I will use my intuition when it comes to that, but not whether or not something happens in a sports game. That's why I have the numbers. Once if you're going to use your intuition that I feel something's going to happen in a sports game, you might as well just not use projections at all. Because then now you're just using bias like the Joe Schmo that builds his lineups on the toilet seat. So it's like, well, how do you build the lineups? Well, I mean, I show this every day. Like, I know we're going to start getting confirmed lineups in. So this is obviously going to change because I mean, some of these games aren't until 3:00 in the afternoon, and they ain't going to post their lineups for another hour or two. But let's say I'm building a 3-max. Let's do 3-max. It's 1,000-person field 3-max or something like that. Okay. So what would I do? I'll show you. I mean, I'll show you the exact. I mean, I do this all the time, and people just don't do it. And I guess that's where my edge comes from. I trust the model. I build lineups, and then I play them. Then over the long run, I make money. Okay, so I take a look at this. Okay, the first thing that I'm going to do, right? Let's say I'm building for whatever 3-max, 700-man entry, or who knows? This is DraftKings. Okay, so what's the based on the bat projections? What's like the cash lineup? Right, take a look at this. Like, what's the cash lineup? What's the more optimal lineup for median outcomes? Okay, Burns, Javier, Smith, Abreu, Garcia. So basically the White Sox. Eloy, Anderson, Garcia, Abreu. Probably Grandal's in there if he's in the lineup. Do we have him even projected in the lineup? No, we have Reese McGuire in there. Probably gets the day off. Right? So I see White Sox. So the White Sox probably chalky. Okay, Will Smith. I take a look at some of the team totals. Right, Coors is going to be chalk, obviously. The Dodgers have a high team total. Milwaukee is decent over there. They may be a little underowned. And of course, Burns and Javier. Okay. So now, how can I build a lineup? This is 113.39, but 228 percentage points in ownership. So I want to build a lineup, but I don't want to share the same players as other people in the contest. So I'm gonna run 20 optimals. Okay, 49K doesn't matter. So if people are using the back projections, most likely here are the top 20 lineups. Doesn't matter if they're not correlated or anything like that. To just see the players. I go, okay, Javier, Burns, Jimenez, Garcia, Will Smith, Chris Bryant, Michael Taylor, Tim Anderson, Emmanuel Rivera. So probably the Royals also a little. Abreu, and then we get a bunch of a little, So it's like I want to avoid these combinations. Okay. So out of these top, like maybe up to maybe Rivera, maybe even Abreu. So obviously, if I group out like up to right to Abreu, I'm going to get less White Sox stats. Okay, so let me just group the whole thing. Let's see if we can do it. We may have to do a max 2, but let's see if I can group the whole thing out. Okay, so Javier, so we're going to make a group. Javier Burns. Javier Burns. What? We got the White Sox. We look here. So Abreu, right next to me. Abreu, Garcia, Anderson, Eloy, Rivera, Michael Taylor. Where's Michael Taylor? There you go. Michael A. Taylor. Rivera, Taylor, Will Smith, a catcher. Who else do we got? Shows up in a lot of lineups. Is that it? Bryant. Okay, we got Chris Bryant also. Okay. He may get the day off. Like I said, this is based on projected lineups currently. So why am I doing this? I'm grouping out. Right? I wouldn't necessarily do this for large field GPPs, but for small field, definitely. Okay, so these players are going to show up very similar lineups to each other. So if I group and I go max, let's say I do max 2, which means if I play a Burns Javier lineup, which is the chalk pitcher combination, I basically don't want to have a White Sox stack in there, right? I don't want to have any of these other players in there. If I'm playing a White Sox stack, I don't want to have the 5 most used White Sox. So it's like I have all of the most used players by using these projections grouped out to a max of 2. So I could play Eloy and Abreu in a lineup, but just not with Tim Anderson and Lurie Garcia. So I'm going to get something like, Andrew Vaughn or Pollock or whoever is in the lineup. Whoever, I don't know. Who else is in the lineup? Gavin Sheets, Adam Engel, Moncada, something like that. A less used combination. Okay, so I grouped it out by 2. Okay, so I don't want to have, because I'm playing small field GPPs, so the chalk is going to be a little bit more condensed, which is going to be on these types of players. Large field GPP, you could get away because you could end up with a 2% owned 3-man or something. I'm not going to be playing those types of lineups in these contests, right? If you're playing large field, it opens up the possibility of playing like I'm going to play bottom of the order twin stack against Corbin Burns. Because when you win with that, you get $50,000, $100,000. These contests, you're paying $20, and in first place it's like $2,000 or something. Like you only need to beat like 700 lineups. You don't need to beat 30,000 lineups. So I'm probably not going to be playing that low of a projected lineup. So you see here, okay, 113.39. So now let's run, even with number of unique players 1. Let's even do that. Let's run some stacks. Okay, let's run some 5 3s. I'm just going to run 10 of them. See what we get. That once we group out like that, what 5 3 lineups do we get? That don't share as many of the combinations with the field. Okay. So here we go. Here we still get a core stack type of lineup. That's the first one. Gallen with Javier. Then we have a White Sox stack that is McGuire, Moncada, Anderson, Engel, Vaughn, with Connor, Joe, Crone, and Rogers. It's still a core field stack. But you see here, compared to this lineup over here, it's actually dramatically different, even though it still has White Sox in it. Here's a Royals plus Dodgers. Okay? So now I'm just going to look at the ownership that we currently have here. So 184, 189. So we want to get rid of the ones. Here's 168. This is not that bad of a lineup. Projection starts going down, though. All right, so 184 here to 168. We're dropping about 2 fantasy points, 2 median points. Anything underneath here? 190, 178, 149. So we get rid of the ones 2 in between it. 149, 149, 22, 135. Now we're getting down to very low projected line. Lower projected lineups. So let's cut it off right there because we only built 10. You could do this with 50. You could do this with 20. Delete all the lineups below. So it's like, okay. Remember, because we're playing, this is for like smaller field, or at least smaller midfield, under 1,000 entries. It's like, okay, I could play a course field lineup And it's still going to be fairly different from, I mean, take a look at this lineup compared to what the cash game lineup would be. Like, you're not playing Eloy. You're not playing Garcia. You're not playing Abreu, right? I mean, like, yes, you are playing Anderson. Shortstop is probably a weak position today. So the White Sox could still put up 10 runs, and we get the right players that less of the field has, less of the combinations, you win. That's fine. And you're not playing that Burns and Javier together. That's perfectly fine. Here's with the Brewers. Right? This isn't that bad. Right? Let's get rid of this one. Right? This one has Moncada, Vaughn. This one has Eloy in it, has Javier, has some Brewers in it. Tyrone Taylor batting ninth. So maybe out of the three that we're gonna play. Like I said, I don't know if these are gonna be the actual lineups that I play, because we don't have the starting lineups. I mean, this could change, right? Once lineups come in and it's like, oh, Brendan Rodgers isn't in. Okay, this guy's in. Oh, Sam Hilliard is leading off. Oh, so that projection is going to move. You know, it's going to do a lot of stuff. DFIC, what's the difference between the Blade IQ and the Bat X projection sets? The Bat X projection set that Cardi has like 200 additional variables. Blade IQ projections are fine. They don't include a lot of the stuff that Cardi puts in. The most important part about projection sets, okay? The most important part. See, we even got here. Look, the Rockies lineup comes in. Blackman, Hampson, Brian, Crone, Rogers, Iglesias, McMahon. So Iglesias in. Diaz is in. Dawes is in. Right? So, yeah, this is all going to change, right? Is Crone even? Yeah, Crone's in. Connor Joe. Yeah, no, Connor Joe, even though we have him in. The most important thing about projections, okay? Gather around. The most important thing about projections. Because people ask me, what's the difference between this projection and that projection? I said, you know what the difference between both projection sets are? They're both better than what you can do. Okay? That's the more important thing. Said, oh, do I need to get the bat? No, you could use the plate IQ projections. Said, but you use the bat. I know I use all the projections. I use all of them. I aggregate everything together. I think the bat projections are, I trust the process of the bat projections the most. But the plate IQ, if I did my own projection model, I probably still couldn't even beat the plate IQ projections. Right? So why am I bothering to doing it myself? The accuracy difference between the bat X projections and the plate IQ projections are about this. Okay? You see it on the screen, barely anything. Don't worry about it. People worry too much about things that do not matter. Okay, so I'm going to choose this lineup. We're playing 3 lineups. Of course, Connor Joe isn't in the. We're going to get the update, the battle update in about 15 minutes or something like that. So remember, this is an example. We're going through this as an example process. So I'm going to save this lineup. Okay. So I just chose one lineup. Okay, here we got a lineup. Doesn't look like this, right? Okay. So now you think to yourself, okay, and now I want a second lineup. It's like, well, now it comes down to what do you want to do? Do you want to play a White Sox stack? Right? Because now you're thinking about exposures. Now you think about risk management. You're playing 3 lineups. You could play 3 White Sox stacks if you want. You could play no White Sox stacks if you want. You could do whatever the hell you want, as long as the ownership versus the projection is worth playing for the contest that you're playing. But I'm going to say, nah, I'm going to X out Anderson. I mean, like, okay, he's going to be used a lot, right? I'm going to X out Anderson. Maybe just Xing out Anderson. Let's see what shows up. Right? Who else is going to be owned? Right? Because Anderson's going to be very popular at shortstop. So now that I X out Anderson, I go back to my group to make sure that it's active. Right? There, get rid of Anderson. Now build 10 more 5-3 lineups. I could look at 5-2 lineups if I wanted. I could look at 4-3 lineups. I'm just using 5-3 in as an example. Okay, so now we get it is the Rockies stack. Okay, to the other side. So now I'm going to cut out. I'm going to go, okay, 159, 107, 164. That's too high. 185 is too high. Let's see, anything under 159. 159. Anything, 159. 158, but we go, look how much projection we dropped. right? Because I'm only building 10 lineups. So it's going to show like that. Okay, so we're getting this lineup. Keller, Javier. The Royals, who are the Royals playing? Just want to... Where are the Royals? Royals are playing the Angels. Okay, just wanted to make sure. Against Jansen Junk. So now here's a lineup. Engel, Vaughn, Moncada. Okay, if I look at my saved lineups, it's like, do I want to play out of my 3 lineups, do I want Adam Engel in 2 of them? Probably not. Right? Let's get rid of Connor Joe because he's technically not even in the lineup. Okay. I don't mind Andrew Vaughn. Do I mind 2 Andrew Vaughn lineups? Do I mind 2 Moncada lineups? Do I mind 2 Rogers lineups? Maybe Reese McGuire. I don't want to have Reese McGuire more than once. Right? This is just personal opinion. This is all risk management, whatever it is. So I'm just Xing them out. Right? Making sure that my group is still intact so I don't have popular combinations. And now let me run 5 threes. So I got rid of those. So remember, I'm just trying to build 3 lineups for a 3 max, under 1,000 entry type of contest. Okay, so we're still getting cores, right? Gallon, Javier. Okay, this is 166 ownership at 106. Let's see if we could beat that in the first 10 lineups. No, these are all still higher owned than that top lineup. Well, that wasn't, but I skipped it anyway. Delete all lineups below. Okay, so how about this? Diaz, Crone, Rogers, Iglesias, Hilliard, Moncada, Sheets, Vaughn. Do I want Vaughn? Maybe I don't even want Vaughn. I'm going to get a lot of Rockies if I keep on doing this. So maybe I do. Okay, I'll take this also. 49-8 lineup. Give it to me. Okay, so now I have 2 saved lineups. They're both Coors lineups, and they both have combinations of players that, even though Coors is chalky, that are they're not as used, right? Because Burns isn't even in either of these lineups, right? We don't have Abreu in either lineup. Don't have Garcia. Eloy's only in. Is Eloy even in one? No, Eloy's not even in one. Right? Okay. So now my third lineup. Okay, maybe I don't want Zach Gallen in all 3 of my lineups. Maybe I don't want Crone. I don't want anyone other than Javier. I don't mind Javier in 3 of my lineups, but get rid of all these others for risk management purposes. I don't have the same players in all 3 lineups. Go back to player groups. Make sure, okay, we're all good there. We're still max 2. So now I built 10 more lineups. Let's see what shows up. Remember, these lineups are for smaller field contests. I don't have to sacrifice that much projection. Okay, here we go. Here's a Dodgers Royals lineup. 211. That seems pretty high up. That's very high. 211, 184, 192, 181, 185, 171. Okay, these lineups are a little too low projected for my purposes. Okay. 100. Okay, let's take a look at what we currently have in our saved lineups. So I have a lineup at 109 projection with 184 ownership, 106 projection and 166. We kind of have to beat that 166, right? I want a lineup that's underneath this. So 166. I'm going to go in because I don't think any of these lineups do that. Any of these lineups under 166? No. So I'm going to go and I'm going to force that in. I want to max total lineup ownership 166. Let's see what we could see here. Let's see what comes up. If you see here, I'm not picking players. I'm not like, oh, this guy has a good whatever. No, I'm using the numbers that the projections are. Okay, here we go. Here, 155 at 105. Okay, this is fine. Okay, let's take a look. 155, 160, 132. Okay, now we're dropping way in projection. Because I'm only building 10. If you built more lineups, you'd get more, building 20, building 50, you'd get more to choose from. So here's a lineup right here. I don't mind this. Can you even play? Okay, yeah, the Astros are in here. So what's wrong with this lineup? It's a Brewers-Royals lineup with Javier and Keller. 155 ownership, 105 projection. We go here. That right? It's underneath. I'm getting the appropriate amount of ownership drop for the projection drop. If you wanted to play these 3 lineups, they're done. You're done. You're done. There you go. Made 3 lineups. How hard was that? How do I find the players that are? I didn't find anything. I just use the numbers. Once you build one lineup, it's like now it's a matter of, okay, what's your second lineup look like? And based on your first lineup, then you have to consider from a risk management perspective only of, like, do I want to have Adam Engel in 3 of my lineups? No. And now expand this out. Let's say you're building 5 lineups. Let's say you're building 10 lineups. You do the same exact thing. Now imagine you're building 150 lineups. Like, this process would take you God knows how long. So now you'd be speeding it up by putting in exposure numbers like that. But ultimately, this is what you're doing. You can get different lineups than me. I mean, I could erase this, right? I could get rid of this completely. Delete. Where we go? Clear save lineups. Right? I could delete all these builds. I could get rid of all this type of stuff. Let's say I wanted more lineups that are like that last lineup. Right? So I have the 166 in here. Right? I wanted lineups that are like that lineup. I could even get rid of, I could put back all the players. I could even not even have this group. I take off that group. But now that I have that 166, let's see what 5-3s show up. Because maybe I do get a combination of some of the people that are more commonly combined. Or maybe I don't. Because the ownership cap will force that away. Here we go. Keller Gallon, right, is basically taking off the pitcher ownership. Abreu, Moncada, Anderson, Engel, Jimenez, Diaz, Rogers, Bryant. We have 149 ownership, 108 projection. So you get a bunch of these. But of course, you're gonna get a lot of Rockies. Yeah, it's a Nationals down here. Of course, I'm only building 10, so I'm really only looking at maybe the first top 3 lineups. So now let's say I enabled the group. I don't want no more than 2 of these commonly combined players. Let's say I build lineups now. I'm gonna get rid of anything but the top lineup. Right? So the top lineup there, top lineup when I group everything out is this second one, which is not that much different. Basically, just don't have Abreu in here and you have Crone. Then let's say you even put it down to 1, player groups 1. There you go. So no more than 1 of those. You're still getting a lot of cores. Right, because it's the highest project. I mean, look, it's almost a 12 total. Right, you're getting kind of the similar lineups. Right, if you sort that out by here, 149, 150, around the same level. Around 150 percentage points in ownership for like 107, 108 points in projection. So if you built lineups around there, you're probably good. No matter what teams you're playing or whatever, if you're somewhere in this range, you're probably fine. For a 3 max contest with 1,000 entries or less. And you could just say, if you want, you could say, I don't feel like playing LAS Diaz. Okay, then don't, and see what line. You could probably build a lineup without him that still fits that range. If you had some intuition that Elias Diaz is going to have a horrible game today, right? Or let's say you have an intuition that Sam Hilliard's hitting a home run. Okay, then build a lineup with Sam Hilliard. As long as it fits the parameters, that's no problem. Injustice 360. If you use every projections, why not Pater projections? Because I use projections that most people use. There's a reason for that. Because I'm trying to build lineups that other people are going to use so I don't build them. That's the point. Understand that most of my game involves around exploiting what other people do. I don't care. The accuracy of the projections almost doesn't even matter to me, as long as that's what everyone's using. Right? I mean, the projections are going to be, projection sets around the industry are very good. But it's more important to me to use the same projections as other people. Because how would I know that this combination of players are going to be there because I know people use the bat projections. And I can go around the industry and I also know what players play which projections and how they aggregate them together. So then I could run them and go, okay, you're going to see a lot of these combinations. Let me not play those combinations. So if you don't have, if you're using projections from something that only 10 people use, like it doesn't make that much of effect on the field. Any projection set is better than me making it on my own. It doesn't matter. Why are people focused on things that don't matter? 99% of the things that you do in MLB DFS, most people do not matter at all. Will not contribute or do anything because you're doing everything else other than focusing on the most important things. Building a lineup that has the proper amount of projection and ownership for the contest that it's in. That's it. That's it. You're done. Anything else you're doing is a waste of time. Well, what happens if I disagree with the projection? Then change the number then. I don't care. Make up the numbers. Make up the numbers anyway. Go through it. Go say, I don't have projections. And just assign numbers to people. I'm going to put Brad Keller at 12. Okay, that's fine. May not be accurate long term, but it's a number. I think Cole Irvin's going to do great today. I'm putting him at 18. Okay, great. You understand you're going to get a lot of them now because everyone else has a projected median of 12 or 13. But if you want to make him 18, go for it. Have fun. I don't care. That's perfectly fine. If you want to do that, do it. I go here. Now, Javier's having a bad game. I'm putting 12. Corbin, I'm putting at 34. Zach Allen, 34 median, right? Whatever. Zach Allen, horrible, 6, right? John Gray, I think he's going to do decently well today. Keller, always does bad for me, 8. Heaney, never get Heaney right, 7, right? Logan Webb, okay, Logan Webb, I think maybe he has a good game against the Arizona, 24. Jansen Junk, never heard of him, right? Never heard him. Give him a 2, right? He gets blown up. Cole Irvin, I'm putting it 18 against Houston for no apparent reason. Marco Gonzalez sucks. Give him a 12. Like, you could do this. Are these representative of anything like statistical based? No. They're your intuition, but at least they're a number now. And once they're a number, then you can start making lineups the same way that we're making lineups. Still fine. They're horribly inaccurate projections, but they're numbers. So no matter what the numbers are, make them into numbers. That's it. I would suggest you have some process that you could back test and see how accurate your numbers are. But if you don't, and you just say, I'm just going to assign random, I'm going to go to random.org and assign random numbers. That's fine. Devin's in the chat. My favorite thing lately on big slates is to set a minimum percentage of 15 or so on low-owned pitching options, group them all, and a min of 1, max of 2, and it forces a low-owned starting pitcher in all my lineups. Yeah, you can. That the way that you could hack together lineup HQ to do those types of things are multiple. Like what I did with the player groups, the common play, you don't have to do. The ownership cap, like Devin, forcing a low-owned starting pitcher, could end up just being by setting a ownership cap. It'll happen naturally. Or you can not use that and do a group with it. I mean, the tools are here. Use them whichever way you want to use them. We're essentially doing the same exact thing. You're doing it a little bit more I want to make sure to get a different, I let the option open that I could get Burns and Javier in a lineup. But in order for that to happen, I need to have a non-White Sox stack. And apparently those lineups don't project as well. Because I wasn't getting, if we ran through, I wasn't getting Burns, Javier, Royals lineups. It was just giving me another starting pitcher. And then still giving me Coors players. Even with the ownership cap. Even with the group. So if Devin makes a group that does that with the starting pitcher, he may still end up getting Gallen and Keller and whoever I was getting also. End up at similar point anyway. But I just leave open the possibility that Burns and Javier could still appear in lineups. Turns out they really didn't appear in lineups if you want to drop the ownership enough. That there was enough starting pitching options that it still made more sense to play Coors and a different pitcher. Yeah, you could use the tool any way you want it. Use it any way that you want it. But once you convert everything into a number, you don't have to worry about the sport anymore. Now you're just building you're building with the numbers better than other people. Other people are going, it's Wednesday, that means so and so hits a home run because for whatever reason, right? Some bias, and you're taking advantage of them. In the long run, remember I ran from the earlier in the day. 90% of the time you'll lose. You're hoping that the 10% of the time you win, that you win a lot. Not the 10% of the time you win 1.5x or 2x. You're winning 10x, 20x, 100x, 5,000x, something like that. And then you could use a tool like Lineup HQ to research and build line. Look, I built 3 lineups. I did everything in Lineup HQ. People say, I only build 1 lineup. Why do I need an optimizer? Why do I need a lineup builder? I only built 3 lineups. I just showed you. I choose this is how I build. People, I'll still get questions. Can you go through your process of how you build? It's like, dude, I do this all the time on the show. Because go back and watch, and I'll go, oh yeah, I watched. Is that? I'm assuming you do something much more advanced. You go, no. What more advanced could there possibly be? Especially baseball, right? Football, there's a lot more. The run backs and the correlations and intercorrelate. There's a lot more here. It's just Jesus. It's baseball. The variance is high enough as it is. Throw some crap against the wall and hope it sticks, right? And over the course of 200 slates, hopefully you're profitable. But what ends up happening is that people build lineups that don't fit the contest that they're playing. They're playing lineups that are either way too chalky or way too low projected. You want that nice balance. Or you're playing lineups that look too similar to other lineups. You're playing the White Sox stack, and you're playing the 2 chalk pitchers, and then you're playing some 1% owned guy from some team. Just hope that, I hope that 1% owned guy has 3 home runs, because if he doesn't, I don't know how I beat the other 20% of lineups that look exactly like mine. Right? You'd rather be a 4v4 or 5v5 over that type of stuff. So that's the mistakes that people make. So you're taking advantage of that. And you could use a tool like Lineup HQ to work out your lineups to do so. Sign up for RotoGrinders Premium. You'll get the full access to this, right? The Plate IQ projections, all the Lineup HQ tools. For NFL, get the combo package. You also get access to the Discord, Premium Discord. I'm in there all the time. Blender's Game Theory channel. I do coaching calls, private coaching calls, 2, 3, 4 times a month, something like that, depending on the month. So join RotoGrinders Premium. I do the MMA stuff. Not this week, though. I'm going to weigh this weekend. So that there's a pay-per-view card coming up, a Nunez Pena card. So I will not be doing that. But Mike Brown and Liam, they'll be taking care of you for that. Behind the paywall. So click on that link in the description. Get $10 off your first month. And give me those thumbs anyway out the door. Now, obviously, I'm not going to have Connor Joe in my lineups tonight. Today or whatever at 2 o'clock. I'm playing at 2:10 or whatever it is. But we don't have all the lineups in. So once most of the lineups come in, are we going to get the Diamondbacks lineup and the Giants? We should have everything in by an hour and a half before game time. We should, and then I'll build lineups like that, because I mean some of these, it's hard to do anything other than a walkthrough this early, right? Like especially if it was a regular slate, like a 7 o'clock slate, like. I can't tell you these are the exact lineups that I'm playing because projected lineups change. Right? We had Hampson yesterday, projected to bat 9th, and they ended up batting 2nd. That changed everything. Not everything, but his projection goes a lot up when he's 2,100 point per dollar wise. But I like showing. Here's the process. Does this seem that complicated? No. Get projections, build the lineups, throw them in. There you go. You're done. I mean, how long should this take? I'm not sorting through stats, all right? I'm not looking at, well, what's the umpire look like? It's anything like that is already in the number. It's already in the projection. I'd only be double counting it. Anything that's worthwhile that has predictive power would be factored into these projections. There's no point in me doing extra work when I don't need to. Right? You know, the only extra work you should be doing is hitting that thumbs up button. Helps us out. Hit the subscribe button if you're new here. Hit the notification bell. to know when we go live. We got Grinders live later today. They'll be going over the 5-game later slate. They're calling it the main slate, but I don't know. This almost seems like I'd rather the 7-game slate is the main slate to me. And then they'll have crunch time. You look at the weather. Is there? Do we even have to worry about the weather today? I don't think so. Right? Green, yellow, green. Baltimore maybe tonight. I don't know. Seems pretty good. Don't have to worry about weather. I don't think so. But Roth will be there, breaking it all down, leading you up until lock. And then I'll be back with you tomorrow to either review that or talk about whatever the hell's going on in baseball tomorrow. I don't know. They're going to be slates tomorrow. Baseball. We're getting to the point where I'm kind of getting ready for football. Kind of looking forward to not just baseball every day, right? And soccer's coming back. Actually, yeah, in 2 weeks, week and a half, EPL is back. Okay, that gives me something else. Gives me a Saturday of something else with MMA. So that isn't that bad. So okay, I have something to look forward to. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow, answering your DFS strategy questions like I always do on the DFS pregame show on RotoGrinders.com.